Good evening, guys. Ken at Tortoise Capital, nightly strategy podcast for October 2nd, 2024. I'm going to start with some hybrid sniper trades of the day here. Oops. All righty, let's go. All right, so we're looking at PLTR, Palantir, one of our focus stocks, 10-minute charts. Here's where it closed yesterday. Here's where it opened today. Here's the opening range, 10 minutes. This is your 3-day anchored VWAP. This is your 10-day anchored VWAP. Those are price targets. If it were to get above this, this would be amazing. This is the uh, RL10 bottom. So if it were to fall below there, that would be an auto short. This red box that you see here, that's the 5-day high. That red line is the 5-day low. So you can see that is the 5-day range. And it's held support a couple times here. Now we'll see it. Is it going to hold support here and break out or break down? I don't know. We're going to follow price whichever way it goes. That's going to be our rule. Follow price. It breaks out to the upside, so we put a standard risk box on it. It breaks to the upside and it's working. So I add that's a COTA 2 second position. The PSAR dot is working fine. Third position. And now we're getting near the end of the day, and it gives me a little doji at the top, and then I take the skin of the dragon exit so that my third position remains in play in the green. And let's see what we collect. So there's my risk box. So the first position gets 1, 2, 3, 3.5. Second position gets about 1. Third position covers the cost. So we net about 4.5 on Palantir intraday with no overnight risk on that trade. Check or hold. Tesla, focus stock. Yesterday's big gap down, sells off hard to a 5-day low, reverses. Monkeying around here. There's your PSAR. Here's the VWAP, the intraday VWAP. There's the 150-day VWAP, the 10-day, the 3-day, and here's yesterday's closing VWAP. So if this price crosses the VWAP after that harsh sell-off, and we're deep into the value zone, I can put that little risk box on it like that and say if it does break down, it's going to keep failing like it did over there. But if it doesn't fail, it just might climb this ladder of worry all the way back to here. So that's my intraday frame based on a big adverse sell. So it crosses the PSAR. The dragon is turned. I preempt the crossing of the VWAP. It climbs the wall of worry, comes back to the Bollinger Band mean. I cash 2R. So 2R, opportunity trading. NVIDIA, 3-minute. Uh, it sells off harshly. It is coming up on a 1, 2, 3 entry to test the VWAP. So I'm probably just going to do the same thing. Yep. Crosses the VWAP with the 1, 2, 3. Put my stop down here at the PSAR flip. Take exit at the PSAR for 2R. So here's a swing trade that we've been doing in Home Depot. These are daily bars, and we notice the rising lows, rising highs, and I noticed that this last little pullback has come back from a peak all the way to the Bollinger Band mean and held. So if it were to hold here, then I think it could come up and test the top of the dragon, the top of the RL10, and if both of those held, this thing could go. So I'm very interested in buying it at that 50% retracement, which is all it did was revert to the mean in a generally rising trend. So I'm ready to buy inside here with a tight risk box and then try to get my 2-to-1 to the top of the channel. And then if it breaks out, I'm in tall cotton. Standard daily trade framing. So we get an entry at the spine of the dragon, a second and a third entry when it continues to follow through, a fourth entry because why not? It's at 4R. And now my daily move today was closing at the top of that stack, and I got to decide where am I going to get out of my position if it starts to roll over after this abnormally good move. That's your quiz. 1, 2, 3, or 4. Stop the tape and you decide, and I'll tell you where I am. My position is I want to exit everything at 3, 2-bar low, in order to keep my fourth position in the money and make good bank on those 3 that are deep in the money. Now, because this has closed at the top of the day, tomorrow, if this opens in that yellow zone and then breaks out above that, I'll raise my stop from 3 to 4 and just maintain a 2-bar low for as long as this wants to go up. That's your quiz. I've got a workshop with 1,000 quizzes like this. If that was worth 50 cents to you to learn that little technique right there, then 1,000 quizzes ought to be worth 500 bucks. It's a self-paced course with fully disclosed solutions and discussions. And then if you want coaching on that, live coaching one-on-one to answer your particular questions, we can arrange that as well. Small group coaching cohort 4 is getting ready to start. That's the last cohort that's starting this year. So if you want to get on board, you should hurry. Well, here's one. Here's Devon Energy intraday 3 minutes. And I'm noticing a gap up, a sell off, a 50% retracement, a subsequent 50% retracement, and now it's going to set up this little channel. If it breaks out of that yellow zone now that I'm after lunch, my 2 targets to the downside are here, the bottom of the dragon, the bottom of the RL10. If it breaks out above the Bollinger Band main, my upside targets are the peak of the RL10 and the VWAP, the peak of the intraday VWAP, the peak of the dragon, and then the peak of the RL10. So a price ladder to the upside hits those 4, to the downside hits those. And then if it were to fail below this, it's Katie bar the door and a collapsing dragon. If it breaks above this, it could be awesome. But otherwise, I still have a compound critical state ready to trade in either direction. I like that I've got a 1, 2, 3 here. It's failing to fail and trying to get long. That would make it a cotta 2, but instead it just chomps around sideways. That channel's holding tight through the lunch. Now I try the breakdown. When it breaks out of that channel, it reverses immediately. That is a fake one go to. So I take a half an hour loss and immediately reverse. And that one returns 2.5 hour to the upside. So netting two, opportunity trading. Here's some daily bars of compound critical states. This is my setup on 30-minute bars for Intel, which has a 4.5% average daily range over the last 30 days and is one of the top five trading value targets because of the high volatility and reliable daily volume. So I've got a 30-minute bracket on this. This is where it closed inside that red box. I'll go long at the green line or short at the red line when it breaks out of that box. And my targets to the downside are 21, to the upside is 24.15, which gives me about a 4 or 5 to 1 in either direction. I'm just going to follow price. Same idea in regional banks. This is a 30-minute. I'm sorry, this is these are daily bars on this one. But I'm putting a tight breakout box near the close at the bottom of the 10-day low, right in that little area. And the upside you can see is large. The downside, if it breaks, can come all the way back to 52. So I have about a 5 to 1 trade in either direction. It's got rising lows, a tight risk box, and all of the short-term anchored VWAPs are up, which leads me to believe that the upside play could have legs. Look at the size of the buying pressure moves when it does break to the upside. So if it breaks out, it'll still have a higher low, and then I've got a favorable trade to the upside. But if it breaks down, there's no support in near sight till it gets down around 52. So that's what a compound critical state looks like. If you're playing along at home, imagine you have
You have
three
three
days in
days
a hybrid
hybrid
swing.
swing.
Each one of these blocks looks like is a 30-minute time chunk. So day one, there's radioactive volatility in the first half hour and the last half hour, and then periods of quiet at lunchtime. So that's what a 3-day box might look like. So imagine I'm just waiting to see where this rascal is going to open. And then once we see the opening, then what I'm going to do is I know that if each one of those boxes represents an R5 or 1/5 of a range stat, I know that the upside move could go to the top of that black box. That's a range stat from the low of the day. And then this is a range stat from the working high of the day of that opening range 30. So essentially what I'm doing is I can now establish my um, maximum reasonable intraday moves to constitute a plus or a minus range stat from the high and low of the day. That's what the normal daily range would now look like. It could very easily find support in here and then break out a range stat move to the upside. That would be that's a 4 to 1 trade using a full R5 as my risk box. It could also break down from there and give me a 4 to 1 intraday move that way. That would be the maximum reasonable intraday moves. Now, it might do only half of that, which gives me a 2 to 1 trade, and then maybe it consolidates. And then I know that from the high of the day, if that were still the high of the day, that my range stat move, excuse me, would look something like this. I would put my high of the day up there. Then I know that my range stat move could still be a range stat in the other direction. So I'm always uh, I'm I'm sizing the moves of the day based on how much of the day is left and what the working high and low of the day are. So I can always frame my trades within that statistical parameter. And then wherever it closes, let's just say that this thing closes here. And then if there's no gap tomorrow, then I'm just going to lather, rinse, and repeat and just wait to see where the move is. Now, if it is a big gap, then that means there's a greater chance of a larger follow through. So I basically just wait to see where the gap is and then start putting my range stat parameters on here and then start managing on 30-minute bars and 30-minute patterns. I can dial into a 10-minute or a 3-minute if I need to fine tune and get larger position sizes. But that, in a nutshell, is what swing trading one day at a time, or said another way, hybrid swing trading actually looks like. And our course on that is a good home study course and offers coaching. Let's take a look at our daily report then. There's our sniper trade of the day we've already seen. The market is in a nice little pullback, holding above the PSAR at the 5-day and 10-day low. All it has to do is get north of 575 and it's off to the races. We're still in bullish normal, mostly overbought, except for the last little pullbacks of the last 2 and 10 days. So it's stabilizing. Volatility is favorable. Main Street is beating high tech right now. Symbols like Home Depot, American Express, Caterpillar are crushing the techs. In the Dow tactical summary, excuse me. We had breakouts in Home Depot, Chevron, and ExxonMobil. Slight breakdowns in Merck and Microsoft. A half a dozen symbols on the auto framer. 1 5-day down in Intel, which is why it's on my short list for tomorrow. For compound reasons, it's going to be a great trade in Intel tomorrow. Breakouts to the upside in the ETFs in emerging markets, Asia less Japan, lithium, uranium, and energy. Break down slightly in consumer staples. A handful of auto framers that test out well. No 5DDs, lots of dojis. Here's what your auto framer trade frames look like. Things that are better than 2-to-1 on the auto framer are in bold. I like that NVIDIA and Intel are both near the top. Microsoft certainly is in play. For the TC2000 version, you can see U.S. Steel, Merck, and regional banks. Regional banks at 2-to-1. That's another reason to be interested in it. In KRE, being dominated here by the summer and a few symbols in the fall, but generally an upward shaping market. You can see where the strengths and weaknesses were. It was a mixed bag today. Some significant weaknesses appear in Nike, Microsoft, Merck, but good strength in Home Depot and the energy sector. And Devon Energy was very good today. Emerging markets, Asia less Japan, energy, Latin America, Brazil, and Mexico were the strength today in the global indexes. And if we look at our Z-scores of the 3 RLs, we're right in the middle of a potential COTA 2 shaping up nicely for another run to the upside. If it just holds support here, we got a good chance to break through 575 if the world can get through this Middle East political crisis per normal. All right, that's everything for today. We'll get this published and posted. Contact me if you're interested in the coaching and the quiz workshop. It's an amazing resource. There's years of training value inside of that. It covers all of our systems and all of our technical and practical tools. Take good care. We'll see you in the chat room tomorrow.